They started in 1976. And it was like, I don't know, 4 years probably before they did their first recordings. The first few albums that they put out were kind of like demos, really. There was 4-track demos, and then they did some stuff over. They did a record with Rick Ocasek where they did a lot of stuff over that they had already recorded. Yeah, Rick Ocasek from the Cars. He kind of found them and brought them up to his studio, and they were skeptical, of course. But he was trying to help. Let me help. Their manager, he tried to get them a record deal with Tom Zutaut, the guy that signed Guns N' Roses and probably, I think, Motley Crue too. And HR was skeptical of him, so they didn't take the deal. HR was skeptical of it. He's the singer. Most of you already know that, but for those of you who don't, HR stands for hunting rod. But his real name's Paul Hudson, and the drummer is his brother, Earl Hudson. So we got 2 brothers in the band, and then drknow on guitar, and darryljennifer on the bass. So before this album happened, they kind of been splitting up. They had parted ways, and after a while, they got offered a gig in New York. Manager comes to them and says, "You got this gig." So they get together to rehearse. They're gonna make us riot! We're gonna make us riot! So they get together to rehearse for this show in New York, and they write this album. in like a couple days, according to the documentary Finding Joseph I. It's about HR. And there's another movie called A Band in DC, B-A-N-D, as opposed to B-A-N-N-E-D, which is one of the albums, Band in DC,
as well as a song.
So they get together for this gig, and they have this burst of songwriting. They come up with all these songs, and they're amazing. I mean, they were just like primed to write all these amazing songs, even though they weren't together at the time. So this song, Reignition, is the jam. This is kind of a standout track. It's kind of like it's a classic. When you first hear this record, this is kind of one of, all these songs, they kind of stand out in their own way, but Reignition, I remember when it first came out, when the album first came out, that was kind of like the song that all my friends and I gravitated to. And I just heard Dave Grohl recently say that the song In Bloom was kind of a rip on this song, or at least it sounded like that before it got produced. So there's so many different elements in here. Obviously you got the punk rock element, but the guitars have this kind of Van Halen thing going on. You hear it's got the whammy thing going. Very melodic. Always got this chorus on this album at least. Lots of pinch harmonic squeals. So you got the punk rock, some Van Halen, the reggae side of it, and this incredible like melody side. Especially in the vocals, but in all the instruments, the bass too, there's crazy melodies. This is a lot different than their earlier stuff, which is just so badass. But this song, this is like a dance hit. You can have like, I don't know, famous pop girl singer singing this. Christina Aguilera, something like that. It's just got a killer feel to it, and that thumping bass. You know, punk rock bands, like half the fun is seeing what they're doing. That's why a lot of punk bands, their albums don't translate as well as their live shows. I mean, Black Flag don't sound anywhere near as good on their studio albums as they do live. Plus, you get to see all the craziness that's going on. And it's all just natural. None of it is planned out in a punk rock show. So you're seeing just like total mayhem along with the music. Here's another like Van Halen. just one of those albums that is good all the way through. It doesn't have a bad song on it. There's like, however, a handful of those out in the world that you can listen to and you just know it's gonna rock you the whole way. So they hook up with this guy, Ron St. Germain, who's a producer. He's done a few things. And he did this one, he did the one after it, Quickness. So they're doing this record, and of course these guys, they can't get out of their own way. They have one of these stories of a band where you're just like heartbroken at every turn. You know, they go to play with the Damned. They get invited to tour with the Damned in England, and they get over there and their passports is something, whatever, they won't let them in. And they send them back immediately. They had sold everything that they had except their guitars to get there. Now they're back and they have nothing. And they find out that their guitars were stolen before they even got to Europe, got to England. They were stolen at JFK. Bunches of stories like that where you're just like, man. So they're recording this record, and two of the guys, the brothers, Earl and HR, they have to go to prison for a second. They have to do a little stint because they got in the middle of something they shouldn't have been in the middle of. And so HR's like, yeah, I have to leave tomorrow to go to prison. So Ron St. Germain's like, okay, well, give me 2 takes of every song on the vocals. And so they do it. So when we hear these vocals, there's just like, they were just done in like a second, you know, a couple passes each song. But they didn't do this song. And they needed to get the vocal down. So he did it from prison on the phone. This is like a story that I heard when I was a kid, and I was like, wow. And then I started to think like, that can't be true. You know, a couple years down the road, I was like, that was probably just some kind of rock and roll lore, punk rock legend. But turns out it's true. He sang it from prison on the payphone. Return to Heaven. I mean, like, even the names of these songs are all cool. Return to Heaven, Sacred Love, Secret 77, Hired Gun, Reignition, iagainstI, House of Suffering. Just an incredible range. It's like got some hip hop in there. And he loves doing that kind of high squeal. He does that on an earlier song, the song I. Fran here. I hope you're enjoying this video, and check out this album without me talking on top of it. And if you already own it, then today's a good day to rock some iagainstI every day. It's a good day for that. Don't forget to subscribe, press all the buttons, do some stuff, give yourself a kiss in the mirror, and we'll see you next time.